Alright gang, so I went ahead and made my modification. I did this last night. I actually did get I did manage to solder to the pads, rather, the surface mount pads, but upon trying to mess with it today and get ready to record, I popped the smallest pad off, the one not going to ground, and so I had to find a new place to solder to. As someone had previously noted, I got this schematic from Mini System. Let's see if I can show there. Let me get a pointer thingy. So we can see here, this is where the missing capacitor goes. So I took off this pad on accident. This one goes to ground and it's pretty well there, so it's not going anywhere. But this one came up. So then I went over to these two diodes. They're really close to each other, which made it really nice to solder to both the pads and simply have a nice broad pad for the other lead to go to. So I'm now connected to ground here and to the other sides of the diodes there. Alright, so what I did, originally I was going to solder the itty-bitty capacitor directly to the pads, but that became way more effort than it became worth. So I decided instead to move to something like this. I have these for when I work on various projects, microcontroller projects, so I just peeled two of them off, whacked the ends off, and tinned the ends with some lead solder. That allowed me to load them up with solder, so that way when I got to the pads, I didn't have to worry about trying to poke my solder lead in there and getting, or having to mess with the sticky flux and whatnot. So it works right now. So what I've gone ahead and done, as you can see here, coming out the side, so I can switch the capacitors if I want to. I've got an LED popped in there right now to show that it is getting power. This is also another way you can actually trigger something if you really wanted to, if you didn't really care about the sound of the snare, or if you wanted to pull off of it for another signal of some sort. So let me go ahead and I'm going to turn it up. I've got it run through my main setup right now. Hopefully the mids will pick up on the camera. If not, I can make a recording of the individual capacitor values so we can kind of get a feel for the difference. Alright, I'm going to take this. I can leave this in for right now. It'll work just fine. You can hear it. I'm going to turn it up. So that is with nothing in there at all except for the LED, which doesn't affect the sound. So I'm going to now put in this itty-bitty 103 capacitor. When last I checked, it didn't really modify the sound a ton. Just put that in there. So it's in now, and you can't really hear a sound. There's maybe a slight change, but nothing significant to it. So now I'll move to the 104, which is originally what was specified. Can't really zoom in on it right now. We'll put that in. You've listened to it. There. You can kind of hear it adds a little bit of noise and pulls the tom down a little bit, it sounds like. Oops, it's not quite sticking in there. 1 second. There, you can kind of hear the white noise coming in a little bit more. Let me turn down my... So you can see when we overdrive it, pull it out. Kind of muddles the white noise a little bit, can't really hear it at all. Here it kind of brings it back in. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and move to the 105, which is my preferred. It seemed to add enough white noise. That's 106. 105 here. And that seems to bring in just enough white noise that I can really control it, and it adds a really, really beefy snare sound to it. So we're going to put that in now. I'm not quite sure what synthesizer or drum machine this sounds like to you guys. Maybe you can answer that, but it's got a really nice full sound to it. You know, almost like it sustained it a little bit and made it sharp, so you can see I'll pull it out. Huge difference in the amount of noise that comes through. Really fills that sound out. Let me get back in. Then we'll turn up the decay on this. These things are hard to do. Eventually I'm going to put in a nice trimmer pot so I can modify it. There you go. So that's my preferred. And then just to show if we go way too far over, this is a 106. And this one just pretty much turns into a white noise generator with some slight, just splattery white noise everywhere. You can bring the tom in, but you really can't. And you can kind of cut it off with the snappy and just leave that. But it doesn't really, the white noise is just always going to be there as soon as you turn it up. So there you go. Like I say, I'm going to go with the 105 for right now. Eventually I'll put in a trimmer pot so I can actually control the amount of white noise that's getting into it. So I hope this was informative. I'll add some pictures later to show you where and how I soldered to the diodes to help make it a little easier after pulling the pad up on it. So hope that was helpful for you guys. I hope the sound came out. If not, I'll add some recordings of the individual capacitors so you guys can get a real clear understanding of how it changed. Thanks.